Well, hello, everyone, and welcome back to a long overdue episode of the Professional Brotherhood podcast. Hey, Kara, what's going on?
Hi, good to be back.
Yeah, good to be back. Good to be back. Taking a little siesta for a while.
Right.
Yeah, little time off, and I don't know. We've had some stuff going on. I've had some stuff going on.
Right.
Recharge the batteries while that's all going on, and yeah. So we're gonna dive back into it tonight. See how it goes.
That's right. Kick the tires and see what happens.
Kick the tires and see what happens. What's going on in your world?
We've been very busy in the department. We've had a lot of crazy calls, some fires, and a couple MBAs, and lots of stuff to keep us busy and keep us needed. And then regular paid fire related gig is been very busy too, doing a lot of fire prevention outreach, a lot of fire prevention education, really trying to catch up after COVID, because there's been such a huge increase in both structure fires and high incidence of burns and inhalation injuries because people are not escaping in time.
Right.
So lots of stuff going on there, trying to get some education going again, and getting out into the community and teaching people how to not die.
It's a good thing. Yeah.
Yes.
Teach them how to not die. Yeah, for sure.
Right.
Yeah, it's been a busy summer. Yeah, same thing down here. I mean, we always have a uptick come summertime, with the increase in population and the increase in traffic and the increase in, stuff. So
Right.
yeah, it's been busy, and the training schedule's been busy. Thankfully for that, both here in county and up at the Swift. Been getting in the water quite a bit so far this summer. So that's always fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. So good stuff going on. So we have not had a lot of time to record the podcast, although I did get an opportunity to get on a radio show this week to talk about the Setting Our Volunteers Up for Success program, which was a lot of fun to do, just something different. And those guys are talking about possibly bringing us back down into the Rockland County area again. And we are heading up to your area in the fall, which is going to be fun, East Syracuse.
And
So that should be a good time. What's that?
I said I'm going to be there.
And you're going to be there. Yeah. It's like right in your neck of the woods. So of course you're going to be there, So
Sure.
So we're looking forward to that. So we still got that going on. And just trying to manage the summertime craziness.
Yes.
So what we're going to dive into tonight, probably going to end up being a little personal for me, which is fine. I'm at the stage where I'm okay with that right now. But we're going to talk a little bit about the Brotherhood, right? We're here, the Professional Brotherhood podcast. We talk about the professionalism side of our project a lot, but we don't talk about the Brotherhood side of that very often.
Right.
We have done an episode or two and talked about, mental health and support and supporting one another. But I think we've skated some issues that I don't know, maybe until they kind of, punched me in the face, I really didn't, think they were an issue, but now, I think it's something that we could probably talk about. So that's the plan.
Yes.
Sound good to you?
Yes. It's an area that's not, discussed. I think the full scope of what it means isn't
Right.
fully discussed frequently, when you talk about the Brotherhood and kind of the history of it and the camaraderie and that kind of thing. It's mostly like a hoo-yah, kind of like, yeah,
Right.
it's all all like that side of it. Like, yeah, it's the brotherhood. It's happening. It's, I got your back. It's,
Right.
you go, like all that
Yeah.
part.
You go, I go, all the cool, taglines.
You
Yeah. Yeah.
hear about that a lot, but
Yeah.
this, an opportunity to discuss more about uh, what that truly means. That there's the other side of when people are in need, and when your brothers and sisters are met with struggles.
Right.
Is that brotherhood brought right to the forefront right away, or is it not?
Right, right, right. And I think part of this will lead into a little bit of a leadership lesson also, right?
Hmm.
Because there are leaders out there that probably aren't doing a very good job of checking in on their people, right? And recognizing when somebody is maybe going through a personal struggle, or maybe going through a struggle at the station, but is going through something, right? And not recognizing that, and um, not being the type of leader that can pick up the phone and call somebody, or grab them after a call and take them to the side and say, hey, what's going on with you? Like, I've noticed something a little bit different, and are you okay? Right.
Right.
Just simply by asking somebody, are you okay?
Right.
um yeah, so let's dive into that. So let's do the personal dump first. Okay, so obviously we have not been on the air in a while. We have not recorded a podcast in a while. Prior to this stuff going on in my personal life, you and I just had busy times, and just didn't have time to record. And we kept talking about, we had a list of guests, and we even had some things lined up that we were going to do, and those things just all kind of fell to shit. And then things for me kind of fell to shit. So basically what's been going on with me is, after almost 22 years, my wife and I decided to go our separate ways. That's the nitty gritty of it. I mean, I'm not going to get into the who, why, or the what, but that's where we're at. It's been going on for about, give or take, 4 months. And I got to be honest with you, there were times in that 4 months that I think I probably hit some of the lowest parts of my life, just feeling like shit, not knowing what to do, just feeling lonely, just not in a good place, and thankfully, I do have a few friends, you being one of them, that called and, checked in or sent text messages once you knew what was going on. But thankfully, I am not the type of person that turns to other things, and I think about when people get this, it made me personally think about people that, when they get to a very, very low point in their life, turn to other things, whether it be drugs, alcohol, potential suicide, whatever it may be, and thankfully, I am not that type of person. I've never turned to substances. I've never turned to, you know, never had a thought of hurting myself ever in my life. But you could see when you're at the lowest of lows and you're really, really lonely, right? And that people know what you're going through, right? But
Mhm.
nobody reaches out and says, hey, are you okay? Right. And
Right.
maybe you didn't come out and make what you were going through known, but we all live in small communities, and it doesn't take people long to figure out when somebody is going through something, or somebody is going through a major change in their life, right? And you tend to hear the rumor mill and the gossip start to spread. um but throughout all that time, how many people really ever turn to somebody and say, hey, are you okay?
Right.
Do you need anything? Do you want to talk? Any of that stuff. And what I learned personally is, no, not a lot of people do. Not very many people at all. Still to this day, people would rather, live in glass houses and throw rocks at your situation than than actually give a shit, you know. And in the fire station, we talk about this whole, you know, brotherhood and having everybody's back, and you know, being there for somebody when they need us. And you know, you realize that in one way, it's just a big giant pile of bullshit. Right?
Right. Yeah. And I think there's like a few things that go on like culturally, you know.
Mhm.
I think part of it is the nature of firemen. You know, we are risk takers, and we are, you know, to some extent, have that adrenaline junkie kind of thing. And it's like go hard or go home. And, you know, you have that, and you have to, in order to do this job,
Right.
in some ways, learn to curtail your emotions so that you can go from one shitstorm, bad scene,
Mhm.
right to one, and still be able to do your job and to help. So there is some of that, that's inherent, I think, to the culture, where
Yep.
there's that toughen up kind of, standard that's been preached for years and years and years. The problem then comes with, we don't get into those habits of checking in with each other on some emotional stuff. I think that the brotherhood and helping each other out piece is very easy when somebody needs their roof repaired, or
Yeah.
when
Right. Right. Right.
you know, somebody needs a load of stone raked in their driveway or whatever. Like everybody's like, oh yeah, you know, you provide the beer and pizza, we'll be there. We're all going to be there, you know, like, and they do. And that is amazing. And
Sure.
that kind of super
Yep.
helpful, but it's very easy to do that part of it, and you know, kind of beat your brotherhood chest.
Right.
It's harder to navigate, do I check in with this person, are they going to be offended that I'm getting too personal with them, is
Right.
it anything that's any of my business, or you know, it's almost like we're more frightened of emotional wellness and supporting each other
Right.
than we are of going and burning buildings and crawling under overturned cars, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
And look,
think
I had people that I've known for, you know, 20, 30, 40 years of my life say, oh, well, you know, um, I figured I'd give you time to work it out. You know,
yeah,
I really didn't know what to say, you know. And here's, and let me backpedal a minute here. So we're not doing this episode, and we're not approaching this topic so I can dump my personal shit. That's not what this is about. This isn't about me dumping my personal shit. What this is about is, it's 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 about realizing that nobody expects, like, I don't expect anybody to be my therapist, right? I've got one of those, right? And they get paid very well, right? Right. So nobody expects anybody to be their therapist, right? But somebody simply, and I think saying, I don't know what to say is a cop out, right? Because something as simple as, hey, are you doing okay? You know,
hmm
or hey, you know, I heard you're going through some stuff. If you want to talk, I'm here for you.
hmm
Just throwing those things out there can really change a person's mindset around. Just knowing that there's people that are like, oh, you know, knowing that there's people that recognize that you're going through some shit and are willing to be there for you. You know, I think that's what it is. And and again, what really brought it to the forefront for me is, what does it do to people that do have a tendency to go to either substances, or you know, people that might consider harming themselves? You know, what does it do to people like that, right, when there's nobody around, and everybody's afraid to ask that question? You know what I mean? Could
yeah,
that change somebody's life drastically, that would consider doing something like that, if somebody just picked up the phone and said, hey man, I hear you're going through some shit, are you all right, or do you want to talk? You know,
right.
so that's why I really wanted to talk about this, because I think, as a culture, you know, we throw big buzzwords out there all the time, you know, mental health and this and that, you know, but sometimes it's just about being a decent human being to people that you spend a shitload of time with and essentially become friendly with, like a part of your extended family. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that tagging back to the cultural aspect, that kind of um, that kind of uh, environment that you create when you
Right.
have open communication and you're checking in on each other as a matter of, because it's your, you know, brother or sister that you're working with, and you're, you know, vested in their well-being. Doing that on a regular basis as a just an act of normalcy, and like you said, just because you're, you know, a decent person, um, I think in some cases that really needs to be taught, because like most things in the fire service, we tend to be reactive instead of preventative towards
Right.
mental health.
Right.
um, we wait for the person to tip over into addiction, or we wait for the person to you know, do something to harm themselves, or they completely dropped off the face of the earth and they're no longer taking care of themselves, and then we all react, right? Then
Right.
we want to do the intervention, then we want to make sure that they're getting lined up with a mental health therapist or a psychologist or psychiatrist. We want to react to a larger problem, when actually building a culture of, you know, checking in, and, you know, recognizing that we are human beings at the core of everything, would be actually more successful than only doing the reactive steps.
Right. Right. Right.
But I think it does have to be taught. I don't know that it's really inherent in the culture of the fire service, or really in the culture, just human nature. It's not the preventative piece to talk about mental health, and not have to just address it bold face, but just say like, mental health and wellness is just like exercising every day and eating well every day. It
Yeah.
just, if you are checking in with people every day and making human connections with each other, everybody feels better, right? Everybody feels like they are part of a community. Everybody feels like they have people in their corner that they can talk to when things start to go bad.
Right.
But
Right.
creating that does take some focused cognitive work. And it's not something I think that just goes naturally. And, you know, I was thinking about this when you brought the topic up too. I think that it has become even worse and even more challenging since the pandemic,
Mhm.
because at, at the beginning, especially of the pandemic, everybody was forced to withdraw into their own homes,
Right.
you know,
Right.
and we even, I think, had limited contact with being around people at the firehouse. I mean, nobody was hanging out, you
Yeah.
know,
Right. 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 Right.
so you were forced to withdraw into yourself, and then that was supposed to be a short-term thing, and it didn't turn out to be a short-term thing.
Right.
You know, we isolated and went into our own little holes and became completely self-centered,
Yeah.
because
Yeah. Yeah.
we're really allowed to interact with people. And I think that that has made people feel so much more disconnected and so much more socially ostracized. And now that we're coming back out of it, it's going to take some time to get back to, let's talk to each other, and
Yeah. Yeah.
not online and not on a computer and not through a phone. You know,
Right.
let's sit in a room together and have a conversation, and let's check in with each other on a daily basis, not just, I know you're fine, because everybody's locked in their houses.
Yeah. 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 You know, and here's the other side of it, and I'm sure you've seen these situations or maybe been involved in, you know, you've got people, you know, you've got people that thrive on other people's bad news, right? So you've got that part of it, right? But then you've also got, like, you know, like the side conversations at the firehouse where, you know, people be like, hey, where's so and so, you know, like, have you seen it, so and so hasn't been around in a while, you know, and it'll start this little, like, I don't know, like this little, like, bullshit, like, rumor mill thing, you know, and you know, I've walked into those conversations before where, you know, everybody's talking about somebody that hasn't been around in a while, and they'll start, you know, they'll start talking about, you know, their obligations, and are they going to meet their points, and are they going to get their LoSAP, and are going to do this, or going to do that, and I'm like, did anybody pick up the phone and call this person and be like, hey, are you okay? Are you, are you freaking alive? Are you going through something? Are you sick? Do you have COVID? Whatever, like, are you, like, what's your deal? We'll have a 15-minute conversation multiple times about somebody that hasn't been around, but how many people will pick up the phone? And I think that's where the leadership part of it comes in, right? How many leaders will pick up the phone instead of chatting at the coffee clutch about the person, pick up the phone and say, hey, I noticed you haven't been around in a couple of weeks. Are you okay? Is everything all right with you? And look, the
Right.
person might you might get an answer that says, hey, I'm just going through some personal shit. I need to take some time.
Right.
At least they know you pick up the phone and you care. Right.
Right.
Not that they haven't been around in weeks, especially if they're the type of person that's always around. Right.
Mhm.
So now how do they feel if they're always there, right? They're always doing the job for you. And now they haven't been around in 2 weeks and nobody's called them, nobody's checked in on them, nobody's said anything. So now they start to think about, well, how important am I to this organization? Right.
Right.
Am I really a part of the brotherhood, as they say, because nobody from the brotherhood has picked up the phone and like checked on me, and I haven't been there in 2 weeks,
Right. Right. Yeah, it's really easy to talk about a situation, but it takes action steps to do something about it.
Right.
And that's the part that I think is frequently missing. And I do think it's because a lot of times people just don't know what to do, but
Right.
it doesn't have to be some big, grand act.
No.
It's very simple, just like check in with people. And I mean, this is where mentorship is really great.
Mhm.
Um, too, if you have somebody that has been paired with their mentor, hopefully during the course of their mentorship, they've developed a good, strong core relationship with them. And, they're noticing when each other's not around, or they notice when, something's off or whatever. And then you can tap into, the mentor to be like, hey, I haven't seen so and so. I know you guys have a mentor mentee relationship. Is there anything I can do for them? As the leader, like, start there even, and then that kind of puts the bug in the mentor's ear to be like, oh yeah, I haven't heard from them in a couple weeks, and that is unusual. And then you're just kind of making it a normal thing.
Right.
If leaders are making it normal that we check in on each other, then that's what it starts to be.
Right. 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 Right.
Doesn't feel intrusive, for the people that are maybe not around or whatever. It does feel like, hey, this is what we always do. This is how we handle it.
Right. Right. And what I don't think is the right thing to do is, especially in the situation where you think something might be up with somebody, or they
Right.
haven't been around in a while and then they finally do come around. We have a tendency to make light of things and joke about things. And I think that's the last time. That's like not the right place at all to try and throw in your normal humor that would be typically okay in any other situation. But when you kind of know that somebody's going through something and then they show up one day and you just kind of make like a sarcastic / humorous comment to them,
Right.
that's not going to help either. So if you're not the type of person that can pick up the phone or take somebody aside and say, hey, are you okay? The last thing you should do is go the complete opposite and like be a dick, I guess is
Right.
what I'm saying. Right.
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
don't go immediately down that road either, when you do finally see the person coming back around, you know what I mean? Because you don't know what's been going on, and yeah, and you end up coming across looking very ignorant when you
Right.
do stuff, you know. Um, yeah, that's not the move.
Yeah. Yeah. No. So again, I just think this whole thing kind of opened my eyes to a lot of things, but it really opened my eyes to how we treat other people and how we react to other people. And being in a leadership role for a very long time, it even opened my eyes up to how I react and interact with people that might be going through something, or in a bad place, or going through something in their life that they don't want to talk about. Just at a minimum, just letting them know just letting them know that, hey, it's okay to go through some shit. We all do, right? We all go through life. We all go through, peaks and valleys, right? And that the people that they count on at the firehouse, again, that extended family, are there for them. And
Right.
I think at a minimum, that's what we as leaders need to do a better job of. I know a few weeks ago I saw, somebody posted something really obscure on their Facebook page that was like just not the norm for them. It was like a really, almost like a coded message, status. And I'm reading it and I'm like, God, that's totally awkward for this. Like this isn't something that this guy would normally post. I just picked up the phone and shot him a text message and said, hey man, I just saw your post on Facebook, are you okay?
Right.
And it ended up being like nothing at all. Like it was, it legitimately was some just obscure bullshit. But he responded, yeah, everything's fine, but I really appreciate you reaching out to me.
Right.
So I think we need to do a little more of that, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. And when we're on the fire ground, or we're working a scene, it it should flow, right? If we've trained
Right.
together, trained diligently, if we know each other's style, we know, if you work with your guys regularly, where people's strengths are, where people's weaknesses are. And again, we have a huge focus of doing that on jobs when we're on
Sure.
the fire ever. But we really need to carry it over
Yeah.
into everyday life, or when we're just hanging out at the station, or or whatever it is, or when we're in training together. If somebody is just seems off, you should be able to tell that. If you really can't tell when something's going on with your team, that's a leadership problem. And if
Yeah.
you can't pick up the signs and the subtle feedback from your crew,
Mhm.
something's wrong, because you don't know them well enough
Right.
to ascertain that before it becomes a larger problem. So from the leadership standpoint, it's hugely important that you're not just looking at their tactical skills,
Right.
but you're also looking at who they are as a person and what's typical for them and what's not. And it's not like it has to be some big detailed psychological assessment, but like you said, you can feel when something's off if you know your guys.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
And it takes very little just to shoot a text message, or just to pull them aside and say, hey, you good, like, you need anything from me, like that. It's hugely valuable
Right.
for everybody involved, and it does not take a lot to be able to do it. And I think there's like this really like underlying fear, like people are really afraid to reach out.
Yeah.
They're really
Yeah.
afraid to like reach out to each other, because they don't want to be like mocked for it, like, or they don't want like any bite back for it or whatever.
Right.
But I think that if we make it more normal and typical, it'll take a lot of that away.
Sure. Sure. Listen, some people, and this message is obviously not for everybody, and there's some people that are not going to take anything away from this message at all, because there are people out there that we all know just thrive off of other people's drama, right? I mean, we know that, right? So, and there's plenty of people in emergency services that thrive off of other people's drama, right? They live to see people in misery and not doing well, right? They feel they get some weird grand satisfaction out of other people's garbage, right? But for the people out there that like actually really do want to improve and want to make a difference and want to be there, for the people on their team, You know, I kind of look at it this way, like, so if you didn't say anything, like if you thought you realized there was something up with a member of your team, right? And you
Yeah,
decided, you know,
not my place.
not
Whatever.
my place. I don't want to
Yeah.
get involved, you know, whatever.
Right.
Right. And something happened to them.
Mhm.
Right. And they decided to, you know, that they were really in a bad place, and they decided to, you know, do something horrific to themselves.
Mhm.
How would you feel then,
Right.
knowing that you thought something was up, right? But you just, you know, you didn't think it was your place. You didn't want to get involved. You didn't know what to say. So you didn't, right?
Right.
Right. Because I kind of look at it that way. Like, what if I'm the person that could totally make a difference in that person's path just by saying, hey, are you okay? You know, or
Right.
hey, is everything all right? However you word it, right?
Right.
Because look, I mean, you have people who come to you. I have people that come to me all the time. You know, we get emails sometimes. We've gotten emails before about with people that are just going through a bad stage in their life, and have said, hey, I'm looking for help. Can you, you know, can you point me in a direction? Right. And
Right.
we've sent people to resources in the past for that, you know. But
Yeah.
again, the two totally different types of people. The person that isn't afraid to reach out, right, versus the person that just internalizes everything
Right.
and will not reach out and might eventually get to a really bad place in their life.
Right. And that's really important too, is that we're talking, we've talked a little bit about the other end of it, where are people reaching out to each other when they see somebody that is struggling, or when somebody hasn't been around, or whatever it is, when we can start to see that there's something going on, we're asking, hey, make sure you're checking on your brothers.
Right.
The other side of that is, which that I never get personal about anything, and I don't know what's going on. I mean, I don't know what's going on with me this week. I had a personal post, and now I'm on here talking about this. But
Right.
um
Right.
I, as you know, am like the wall of stone ice queen.
Right.
And you're like, yes,
I'm like, yes, yes, yes,
you
yes,
don't
I
have to.
agree. Yes, yes, I agree.
Anyway, um, I would rather walk on a field of Legos than ask anyone for help ever
Sure. Yeah.
about anything. I am 5'1" and I will climb a counter before I, ask anybody to reach me anything, especially in this firehouse, right?
Right. Right.
So there's that other side of it too, is that, and I'm very guilty of this, if I am struggling and it's a small problem, or it's a small thing where I'm like, it's only affecting me and it isn't affecting my sleep patterns, my work patterns, my eating, like it's not a big deal. I will not bring it up. I won't hold on to it. I mean, I'll hold on to it. I won't reach out to one of my brothers and be like, hey, I'm having a bad day, or I'm having a bad week. No, no, I am not going to do it. And then what happens? You have 18 of those bad days, or you have you have a year of shit, right? And you've never said a word to anybody about it.
Right.
And they have no idea what's going on, right? And
Right.
then what? How long can you really carry that
Yeah.
before
Yeah.
it does start impacting your ability to do the job, your sleep patterns, your eating, your health?
Right.
You can't hold on to it forever. And
No.
that's something on from that side of it that I struggle with. I struggle with that.
Yeah.
I don't shout probably when I should.
Hmm.
And that's the other part of it
Right.
too.
Right. Right.
Probably a lot of people out there that are similar to me in that respect. And so then you've got it going from both ends. People know, she's very private. She's not going to talk about
Right.
whatever. So they're not going to ask.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. 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 No, yeah,
So
you're right.
it's like the swinging door, you know?
Yeah. No, absolutely. 100%. And I can totally relate to that because, you know, again, I know I personally was, you know, just trying to, you know, handle everyday life, you know, keep working the job, keep doing all the training. You know, keep working, you know, at the training center, taking on as much of work as I can, making sure everything was okay with the kids and nothing was, you know, nothing was affecting them. Still doing my job at the firehouse, like, you know, just trying to juggle all this stuff along with what was going on and almost, you know, trying to, you know, make like nothing was happening, although something was absolutely happening. And, you know, I know for a fact that it was absolutely affecting my mood. You know, I was not the normal person that I typically was, that you know, kind of, you know, makes light of a lot of shit and just, you know, just I know I wasn't, you know. And honestly, one of my buddies one night just kind of set me off. You know, he said something to me, like I don't even know where we were, you know, said something to me like, hey, you know, what's up, you in a shitty mood tonight, you know. And I totally knew he would, like, I knew he was coming from a joking place. and and I think the next day he followed up with a text message or something that said like, are you mad at me, you know? And I finally dumped, you know, I just replied, I was like, nah, bro, I'm not mad at you. I was like, I'm going through some real shit, I said, and I've had some really, really bad days, I said. And, you know, I like nobody reaches out. Like I said, I said, I know people know what I'm going through. You know what I'm going through. I was like, it's not that I'm, you know, yeah, I was having a bad day, and no, I wasn't mad at you. And you know, and he apologized to me and said, you know, I'm not good at reaching out when somebody needs help and you know. So you're 100% right. Like some people don't know how to do it, or think that, you know, somebody like yourself is strong enough that they handle all their own shit and don't need anybody's help, you know. So yeah, you're 100% right.
Yeah, I mean, and that's, you know, very cultural, I think, in the fire service too, you know. So there's got to be a little bit of a balance that needs to be created, to make sure that we are taking care of each other better
Yeah.
and more, and it should be normal that we're trying to, you know, like the whole, like, you know, machismo thing where we don't need to like talk about the stuff that we see, or the stuff that we're going through, or what we're going through in our personal lives. That is not an effective way to go through life, you know.
No.
And you can't really do this job unless you are keeping yourself, and obviously if anybody follows me at all, physical health is so important.
Mhm.
A huge part of that is your mental health. You cannot separate the two completely.
Right.
You really can't. If you are not mentally healthy, if you're not in a good place, if you are not practicing, you know, daily check-ins with yourself and recognizing and identifying what your thoughts are and managing them well, you're not going to be physically healthy, because
Right.
you're going to stop taking care of yourself. You're going to stop taking care of yourself. And we see it in the job. I mean, this is where, like, you know, people end up, as you said, either going down paths of addiction. And we see that as firefighters and EMTs and medics, right? When we go out and we see it, we see the throes of addiction,
Sure.
we're like, God, like, this is terrible. And, you know, a lot of people even get really annoyed by it, because you're like, oh my God, again, I've been to this house 18,000 times, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, where did that start? You know,
Yeah.
that didn't wake up, you know, today, addicted to heroin, you know, and using it 6 times a day. They
Right.
started where they had a problem coping with something.
Sure.
They had a problem that did not get addressed, and
Right.
then it grew to a bigger problem. Hoarders, right? They had a problem with, oftentimes trauma, OCD, things like that. It didn't start out that their house was filled. At one time, that house was, you could walk in it, and
Right.
now, yeah, it all starts from somewhere. And so if you're not like checking in and and making it normal to like talk with each other and treat each other like human beings that have mental health and physical health, that's where those problems all come from. It's not a far drive to get there. You know, that's the really scary thing.
Look, some of us spend, some of the people listening to this spend more time with the family at the fire station, their fire station family, than they do with their own family, right?
Yep.
And if their own family was struggling, would they stand by and watch them struggle, or would they at least ask them how they're doing and if there's anything they could do to help them? Right? We're not talking about this because we expect everybody to be mental health experts or everybody to be therapists. What we're saying is that just be a good human being, right? And be a good person, and don't be afraid to reach out to somebody that you think has something going on, and just ask them, just reach out, right? Just ask them that simple question. And if you do identify something that maybe is a little bit bigger than you expected, well, then maybe your job is to steer them down the road, or attempt to steer them down the road, or help them get the help that they need, um to get to a better place.
Right.
I think there's a couple steps we're talking about here, but the basis of it, what I really wanted to bring to the forefront was, like you said, we love to beat on our chest and talk about brotherhood, and brother this, brother that, you go, we go, all this, movie bullshit. But at the end of the day, how good of a job are we really doing?
Right.
Yeah.
It's always good to do that check-in. And one of the most important parts of being a good fireman is the to improve. And if you are motivated to improve yourself as a fireman, this has to be a part of it.
Right.
Check in with each other, same way that, everybody's got an accountability tag. The accountability should be more than just where the person is.
Right. Yeah. And listen, and don't get roped in with the people out there that, again, just love other people's struggles. That's not where you want to find yourself. Let those people go and do their thing, whatever it is that they do. Be the person that is there for the people that you care for, and the people that you're going to do the job with. Whether you're friends outside of the station or not friends outside of the station, right? You're still spending a lot of time with one another, and you're still counting on one another. And if somebody that you count on day in and day out suddenly isn't there anymore for one reason or another, you're going to miss that person. Right.
You're that person, and it's going to have a profound effect on your team.
Yeah.
It's really nobody is unilateral in this. Like, whether we like it or not, we're all connected. And like you said, you don't have to be best friends with everybody. You don't have to promise them the world, and you don't have to, go crazy with 800 phone calls and check-ins a day and be that person's like one, guiding light in the world. That's not even what we're talking about here. What we're talking about here is an awareness that other people exist in close proximity to you.
Yep.
And are you thinking outside of yourself, and are you checking in on a normal basis with the people that are around you that are counting on you and that you are counting on?
Yeah.
It's a big deal. It's important.
And if you're a leader, lieutenant, captain, assistant chief, deputy chief, I don't care how many bugles you wear and what color your shirt is. If you're a leader, it's a part of your job.
Yes.
It's a part of your job, right? It's not a part of your job to talk about it to 5 other people at the firehouse. It's part of your job find out what's going on with one of your team members, right? It's a part of your job, whether you like that part of your job or not, or whether you're comfortable with that part of your job or not, right? If you don't think that you can handle that part of your job, but you notice something, well, then you know what? Go to one of your other leaders in the organization and say, hey, I noticed this about so-and-so. Would you check on them? Right? At least if you can't have that conversation, go to somebody that you know is comfortable having that conversation. Because if you're a leader, it's a part of your job to manage your team.
I would add to that, if you're not comfortable doing that and you don't know how to approach it, there's a lot of classes that you can take on leadership, mental health for first responders. Some of them are even online seminars, some of the conferences that we go to, anything like that. There's those kind of courses available. Obviously, everyone wants to take the, hot classes. And of course, who doesn't want to do that? You know, also, if you are awesome at attack and search, and you've been doing that for however many years, and you drill on it, and you've taken those classes, but you suck at leadership and checking in with your team, take one of those classes.
Right. It's not sexy though. It's not, that stuff's not sexy. It's not fun, Yeah, I know. Okay, beat on the chest.
But drive to improve is what makes you a good fireman.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, good stuff. I hopefully some people,
food for thought, at least.
Food for thought. Good stuff. I hopefully some people get something out of this. Honestly, I was not really sure how this was going to go when I told you that I wanted to talk about this. But I think it's important. I think it's an important topic, and I hope that people do get something out of it. And again, it's about what we go through and what we deal with every day. And, I'm sure there's people struggling in all of our organizations, probably right now, as we're having this conversation, with something, So again, just be a better human. And as we close this out, the pager goes off again. It's been going off a lot. It's been going off a lot today. It's been busy, but so final thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's that swinging door, check in with other people, but also practice, allowing people to check in with you.
Yeah.
And practice, reaching out when there's something small before it becomes something big.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, and listen, sometimes it's not that hard to notice, right? It's not that people are, people have patterns, whether we realize it or not, and sometimes it's not too hard to notice when somebody deviates from their pattern, I mean, even social media, you have somebody that, is posting like every day their life story. And then all of a sudden one day, boom, they're just gone. Like and I've done that with people before. I'm like, God, so-and-so hasn't put a post up on Instagram in like forever. And I'll scroll back and it's been like 2 months, and I'm like, holy shit, I guess it was forever, and you're like, I wonder what's going on, like, I wonder what happened. Like, did they just decide, I need a social media break, which people do from time to time, or is something going on with their life, or God forbid something worse, but it's not too hard to notice. So that is the message of the day. Be there for one another.
Yes.
All right. So closing it out, we do have some ideas. We've got some topics. We've got some we're running some guests back and forth between the two of us. We've got to reschedule with the ladies again. We wanted to do the
well, we have female firefighters that we found a really neat group, and we just want to get them on and have some good conversation with them too. So that's going to be upcoming.
Yep.
We've got a couple others that we need to reschedule with that had to reschedule with us for various different things. So good
Yeah.
stuff to come.
Good stuff to come. And hopefully slightly more regular, although it is still summertime and we're both still crazy busy, but we are going to get hopefully a little bit more regular now with the recording, that things are somewhat more normal. So, all right.
All right.
All right, everyone. Thanks again for listening. And Kara, thank you. And
yeah.
Till next time, talk to you soon.
Stay safe.
Stay safe, everyone.